What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Fantasy and Frames Rookie Profile Series, where I'll be talking to you about my quarterback one, CJ Stroud. My name is Andrew Scott. You can find me on Twitter at Drew3MR. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit the little bell that's going to pop up whenever you do so that you can be notified whenever new content just like this drops all off season heading into 2023. So, for those of you that don't know, CJ Stroud is the 6'3", 214-pound junior quarterback from The Ohio State University. He didn't play much his freshman year, but operated as a full-time starter for his sophomore and junior season, where he finished 4th and 2nd in the Heisman voting. Now, if you're going to finish 4th and 2nd in the Heisman voting and you're only 2 years as a starter, it's probably safe to say you're going to put up some pretty impressive numbers in those years. And that was absolutely the case for CJ Stroud. His sophomore year, he threw for over 4,400 yards with 44 touchdowns and only 6 picks. And he followed that up with a junior season of over 3,600 yards with 41 tutties and only 6 picks again. So he finished his career with an impressive 10.2 yards per attempt and only 1.4% interception rate, further displaying how elite of a passer he truly is. And these are numbers that are typically translate to success at the next level. So before I talk about what makes Stroud so great, let's go ahead and just start with his weaknesses and get that out of the way because in my opinion, there aren't that many. So for fantasy purposes, the big thing that's going to stick out with Stroud is that he didn't get much done with his legs on the ground. Excluding sacks, he only had 54 carries for 273 yards in 25 games. As a fantasy player, you have to decide if you believe that this was because he simply can't do it or if he chose not to or the system had him not rush as much. Now, he might not have done it every game, but there were 2 games in particular when watching Stroud that showed me that if he needs to use his legs at the next level, he could do so. There was a game against Northwestern with some extreme weather that forced him to run a little bit more, and he was successful doing so. He also displayed this in the national championship against Georgia this year, where he was the most mobile I've ever seen him. And in my opinion, if he finds himself in a situation at the next level where he has a poor offensive line and is under pressure more consistently than he was at Ohio State behind that great offensive line, I believe he will use his legs more than he showed in college. Now, I don't ever think he's going to get to a Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts level of mobility, but I don't believe he's a statue either. So I think that his lack of rushing upside is being a little bit overplayed. Now, speaking of being under pressure, his performance under pressure was another area where he struggled in college. He shined as a passer when being kept clean in the pocket, a 71.7% completion percentage, 35 touchdowns, and a 93.4 PFF grade. However, under pressure, he had a 41.3% completion percentage, 6 touchdowns, and a 42 PFF grade, which ranked 97th among 144 qualifying quarterbacks when under pressure. So that's an area that's going to have to improve. The chances of him having an offensive line as strong as the one he played at behind in Ohio State, slim to none on that aspect. So definitely would like to see some improvement in that area. But as far as his strengths go, whenever you talk about CJ Stroud's strengths, the big things that stick out is going to be his accuracy, the arm talent, and the vision. Across 2 seasons as a starter, he compiled a 69% completion percentage, pretty nice, over 830 passing attempts. And in 2021, he led the nation in QBR and finished 3rd in QBR in 2022 as well. And his low interception rate and impressive passing yards per attempt numbers that I already mentioned earlier are further proof of this as well. If you give Stroud a clean pocket, he can pick a defense apart. Despite what I've seen others say, I saw plenty of examples of him on tape working through his progressions, finding the open receiver, and delivering a strike. Now, I know that Ohio State quarterbacks have a reputation for being one-read quarterbacks, but we got to remember, folks, we scout the player, not the program, and I don't believe this was the case with CJ Stroud. Now, I know people are going to point toward the offensive line he got to play behind, and that his junior year he had Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson and Jackson Smith and Jigba, and then he had Marvin Harrison Jr. his junior year. And it's all fair points, but at the end of the day, somebody has to deliver an on-target ball, and CJ Stroud did that consistently over and over to where him possibly playing in a system at the next level, not as rich as the one he played in college, isn't as big of a concern for me personally. As far as looking at from a fantasy aspect, when we should be looking to draft this guy in rookie drafts, according to the most recent DLF rookie ADP, CJ Stroud is going as a QB1 in Superflex leagues at the 102 overall behind only Bijan Robinson. And in one quarterback leagues, he's actually the quarterback 2 going 10 overall, 1 pick behind quarterback 1 in one quarterback leagues, Anthony Richardson. Now, Stroud going as QB1 in Superflex, but behind Anthony Richardson in one quarterback league is something that I think you should pay attention to. In my pre-draft rookie rankings, I currently have 3 quarterbacks in my tier 1, which is Stroud, Anthony Richardson, and Bryce Young. However, similar to ADP, I have Stroud as QB1 in Superflex and Richardson as QB1 in one quarterback leagues. To me, Stroud feels like the safest quarterback prospect in this class with enough potential upside if he were to start using his legs more, that I feel like QB1 and Superflex, where quarterbacks are more important, is a better bet there. However, in one quarterback leagues where you can take a little bit more risk at the quarterback position and it's not near as important as in Superflex, I'm comfortable right now pre-draft having Anthony Richardson as my QB1, given his upside with his rushing floor. So that is something to pay attention to. Now, if your rookie draft is happening before the NFL draft, I'd be taking Stroud at the 102 in Superflex leagues just behind Bijan and around the back of the first and one quarterback leagues. I already mentioned that I have Stroud, Richardson, and Young all in a tier together pre-draft. So how I have them ranked within their tier could definitely change post-draft, where we have to take landing spot, the weapons around them, and their coaching staff into consideration. Like, for example, right now in that tier 1, I have Bryce Young as my quarterback 3. But if he indeed gets drafted to Carolina, as the rumors were to suggest, where they have an improved offensive line and a coaching staff that I like a lot in their head coach, Frank Wright, the quarterback coach, Josh McCown, and let's say Stroud and Richardson end up slipping in the draft or go to spots that aren't as ideal for fantasy, Young could easily jump to the top of his tier and end up as the quarterback 1. So that's something to pay attention to if your fantasy drafts, if your rookie drafts are being held after the NFL draft. So in summary, CJ Stroud was an elite level thrower in college with the size, accuracy, and college production and arm talent that NFL teams typically covet, which should lead him to being one of the first names off the board in the 2023 NFL draft. So assuming there isn't an unprecedented slide in the NFL draft, Stroud should instantly come in as a borderline QB1 for Dynasty. However, he would quickly climb the ranks for me, depending on how things develop around him. With his arm talent and accuracy, if he's given weapons and an offensive line, I think he could reach Joe Burrow levels and end up as a top 5 Dynasty quarterback. However, that's going to take some time, as being drafted early in the NFL draft tends to come with a poor team, a poor supporting cast attached to it. So watching how his NFL team builds the team around him will be key, especially if he doesn't start using his legs more at the next level to give himself that fantasy floor that rushing quarterbacks have. That the offensive line and the weapons around him are going to become that much more important. So if this video was helpful to you at all, please be sure to drop a like and hop in the comments and let me know who your Dynasty quarterback 1 is if it's not CJ Stroud, and what your outlook is for him moving forward. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel, where the Fantasy and Frames team is going to be pushing out content all off season long beyond the draft to get you ready for 2023 and beyond that as well. And also be sure to check out fantasyandframes.com for more articles, rankings, video links as well. If you guys love talking ball, be sure to hit me up on Twitter at Drew3MR. I love engaging with people and talking fantasy football, regular football, whatever the case may be. So please hit me up on that aspect. Let me know what you guys think. Until next time, y'all take care.